6 bodies, 2 weeks. Houston's bayous, places you jog past, bike along, paddle on, suddenly turned into the internet's latest crime scene. TikTok whispers a serial killer. City officials say there's no evidence of that. So which is it? Panic or pattern? This video is non-graphic, respectful, and based on publicly available reporting and official statements as of October 2025. It does not accuse any person beyond what authorities have publicly stated. If you want source-based true crime and rumor versus reality breakdowns without the hype, subscribe and stay with me to the end. Start with the facts. Over the past few weeks, multiple bodies have been recovered from Houston's Bayou system. Places like Buffalo Bayou, Brays, Greens, and White Oak. Local outlets compiled the numbers, and they're jarring at first glance. 6 in roughly 2 weeks, and according to county-level data, at least 22 bodies found in bayous across 2025 so far. Police and the medical examiner are still determining causes of death in many cases. Some are listed as pending. Some are accidents or drownings. One was reported non-suspicious. Others are unclear. Here's the tension. Whenever several deaths cluster in the same kind of location, water, our brains jump to pattern. Pattern feels like intent. Intent feels like a killer. But is that how water in a city like Houston actually works? In a city built around more than 2,500 miles of bayous and waterways that also serve as flood control, what seems like a chilling pattern might be an uncomfortable probability. Are these tragedies connected, or are they being connected by us? Officials have been unusually explicit. As of the most recent briefings, Houston police say they have no evidence of a serial killer. City leaders have repeated it on camera and at community meetings. No forensic proof of a single actor linking these deaths. That doesn't mean nothing is wrong. It means the specific claim, a serial killer, isn't supported by what they have right now. Why are they pushing so hard on that point? Because the rumor has sprinted ahead of the facts. Social media clips with Bayou Killer in the caption rack up views, and those views pull people into night searches along the banks. The digital attention economy loves a villain. The criminal justice system, however, is slower, duller, and demands evidence. A rumor can go viral in an hour. A cause of death can take weeks. If a medical examiner has to wait for toxicology, tissue analysis, and identification procedures, how fast do you really want them to move? Would you rather have a scary story today or an accurate answer in 3 weeks? Let's talk about water. Cities with major waterways see recurring drownings, accidental, self-inflicted, or linked to substance use and mental health crises. Flood-prone Houston complicates the picture further. Sudden storms, dark currents, steep embankments, and a patchwork of access points. In a city where a 15-minute downpour can fill a channel, water claims lives across every demographic. Even if media attention clusters on cases with younger victims or unusual details, year-to-year comparisons also matter. When we hear 6 in 2 weeks, our minds leap to the now. But county-level data often shows that bodies in waterways are sadly not rare across an entire year. 22 sounds terrifying. Spread across months, contexts, and causes, it becomes many tragedies rather than one big one. That's colder comfort, but it is a different picture. So the question becomes, are we looking at a spike or at a spotlight? Did the number rise, or did our attention finally catch up because of a fast, alarming narrative? TikTok, Instagram Reels, and Shorts on other platforms have turned bayous into stages for amateur detective expeditions. Headlamp videos, whispered narrations. We're out here at 2 a.m., and look what we found. It's part urban exploration, part citizen journalism, and part performance. Some creators film to warn neighbors, others chase adrenaline and views. The hashtag #soup blends genuine concern with cinematic edits, and that blend is rocket fuel. One clip says, 6 bodies in 10 days. Another shows blurry water at night and frame-by-frame proof of something in the reeds. Viewers ask, why here? Why now? The algorithm says, you like this? Here's 10 more. Meanwhile, family members of the deceased watch strangers stitch their pain into content. Is there value in community vigilance? Absolutely. But who does it serve when vigil turns into spectacle? And when creators say serial killer, then walk it back with allegedly, who carries the consequence if they're wrong? In neighborhoods along these bayous, community leaders are pressing for answers, meetings, lighting, patrols, and transparency. When trust is already fragile, a vacuum of official details becomes a megaphone for fear. People don't expect every autopsy report in real time. They do expect consistent updates, plain language, and acknowledgement that 6 bodies in 2 weeks is alarming, even if the causes are varied. What helps? Publishing timelines of recoveries, once identifications and next-of-kin notifications are complete. Clarifying which cases have preliminary causes and which are pending. Aggregating bayou safety measures, where lighting will be installed or repaired, where call boxes or cameras exist, how patrols are being allocated, and how citizens can report hazards or suspicious activity without endangering themselves. That's how rumor loses oxygen. Not by telling people calm down, but by giving them consistent, specific reasons to understand what is happening. No evidence doesn't mean no danger. It means the cases don't share the forensic fingerprints that define a single offender. Consistent MO, victimology patterns, distinctive wounds, bindings, transport methods, dump characteristics, or unique signatures. In water cases, physical evidence degrades fast. That's another reason officials avoid dramatic claims. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, but it's also not proof of a phantom villain. How do you balance those truths? You hold 2 thoughts at once. First, tragic deaths in water are common enough to resist sensational single-cause theories. Second, each case still deserves the investigative rigor you would want if the victim were yours. When local reporters pull county records, we see a mosaic, ages from young adult to senior, statuses ranging from identified to unknown, causes from confirmed drownings to undecided. Some have contributing factors like substance toxicity or underlying health conditions. Others remain open questions until lab work returns. Police have noted prior years where similar totals occurred over longer time frames. That context does not erase the fear, it frames it. If last year had 24 waterway recoveries across the calendar, why is this different? Because clusters change perception. If 6 discoveries land in a compressed window, the human brain hears footsteps, even if they're the echoes of reporting cycles and attention. That's not foolish, that's human. It's also why rumor and caution feel the same in the dark. Online, people point to Austin's Lady Bird Lake, where bodies have been found for years, and where a persistent rumor claims a serial killer stalks the bars and bridges. Studies and police statements there haven't established a single offender. Houston watchers now say, "We've seen this movie." Skeptics answer, "That's exactly the problem." Each city carries its own ghosts. Copy-pasting conclusions. Either it's definitely a killer or it's definitely not, is how both panic and complacency grow. Treat the Houston cluster on Houston's terms. If you demand evidence for big claims, demand the same standard for big dismissals. That's adult, boring, and necessary. If you're making content about this, or sharing it, a checklist helps. Get the language right. Found in the Bayou is a fact. Killed and dumped by a serial killer is a claim that requires proof. Avoid doxing or naming alleged suspects. You could harm innocent people and derail real investigations. Don't film grieving families or treat recovery sites as set pieces. Respect is not optional in true crime. Link to official tips lines, not your DMs. You are not an investigator. Use one unifying frame: rumor versus reality. Viewers trust you more when you show your sourcing, admit what you don't know, and correct errors. Do you want to be first, or do you want to be trusted? On YouTube, trust wins slower and lasts longer. You don't need a serial killer to justify basic safety. Nighttime along water demands a buddy system, charged phones, and clear plans. Alcohol and dark embankments are a bad mix. Runners and cyclists can carry a simple light. If you suspect a hazard, a broken railing, a missing grate, a sharp drop, report it with a photo and location to the city's service channels. If you see someone in distress, call emergency services rather than attempting a hazardous rescue alone. Could practical safety messages reduce future tragedies more than any video like this? Probably. Share one that isn't drenched in fear. Behind every number is a person with a family. One case might involve a university student whose disappearance made classmates frantic. Another might be a person who lived rough by the banks and whose community is small enough that no paper publishes a photo. Some individuals will be identified quickly. Others will be John or Jane Doe longer than feels humane. The rumor machine doesn't pause for next of kin notifications. We should. That's why updates feel so slow. It's also why they must be. Investigations prioritize dignity and accuracy over speed. We can demand transparency without demanding the impossible. What would count as evidence of a serial killer? Evidence would look like this: consistent ligature marks across cases, distinctive bindings unique to a single offender, a repeating dump pattern beyond mere near water, verified contact links between victims, matching trace materials, or digital forensics tying multiple victims to the same perpetrator. In the absence of such coherency, professionals resist the serial label. Could such evidence appear later? Yes. That's why no evidence so far isn't a victory lap. It's a status. If officials find links, they will say so. Not because YouTube demands it, but because that's their job. If the official line is caution, why does the cluster still deserve attention? Because clusters can reveal infrastructure problems, lighting outages, unsecured access points, lapses in patrol routes, or patterns of risk behaviors near nightlife zones. They can also reveal communication failures, press releases that come too late, community meetings that feel performative, or dismissal that sounds like contempt. Calling attention to a cluster doesn't require calling it a killer. It requires calling it what it is: a signal that something about how we live with water isn't working as safely as we thought. How should a video like this age? If, in 2 weeks, several pending cases resolve as non-homicide, this remains accurate. It urged caution and respected facts. If, in 2 months, investigators identify a link, this remains honest. It defined what evidence looks like and pledged to update if that evidence appears. That's the promise. We go where the sources go. No villains invented, no comfort invented. Do you want creators who predict or creators who update? What we know today in a snapshot. multiple bodies recovered from bayous over a short period triggered viral fear. County records indicate at least 22 bayou-related recoveries in 2025 so far. Some causes are pending, some accidental, some non-suspicious. Houston police and city officials state there is no evidence of a serial killer at this time. Community leaders want more transparency, better lighting/patrol data, and consistent updates. Social media amplified fear. Some posts blurred lines between vigilance and spectacle. The respectful response is twofold: demand facts and demand safety improvements unrelated to rumor. In Houston, trust is not theoretical. Historical cases, including abuses that ended in bayous, taught people to read water with suspicion. When leaders speak in absolutes without sharing reasoning, communities hear minimization. The fix isn't to call citizens gullible. The fix is to explain methods in plain English. What evidence was tested, what's pending, how long toxicology takes, and when the next update will land. Whenever possible, officials should publish the why, not just the what. Transparency is not charity, it's crime prevention. Here's what would help next: a city dashboard that lists bayou recoveries by date, location, status, pending/non-suspicious/homicide, and last update, with respect for family privacy. A lighting and patrol plan with maps, dates, and budget lines. We will fix X lights by Y date. A single, consistent press cadence for bayou updates, even if the update is still pending. A public guide on how to report hazards around bayous, with a 24/7 escalation path. A reminder from creators, including me, to route tips to official lines, not into comment sections. Would measures like these kill rumor entirely? Number. But they would starve it. If you live in Houston or any water city, carry the basics. Night runs with a friend, a light, and a charged phone. If you drink near water, plan your route home strictly, rideshare, buddy, or well-lit paths. If you feel followed, don't test your bravery by staying near the banks. Move toward people in light. If you see someone struggling in water, call emergency services. Many drown while attempting rescues. Save the city's reporting number for hazards and unsafe conditions. You can protect yourself without living afraid. You can demand answers without demanding a villain. There's a reason rumor feels good. It gives shape to fear. It promises a clean story. But reality rarely cooperates. The respectful true crime approach resists that sugar. We verify, cite, and revisit. When we're wrong, we correct. When we don't know, we say so. That's how an audience turns from views into a community. When you share a Bayou Killer clip, are you raising safety or raising anxiety? If you were a victim's family member, what would you want people like us to do? Here's what I'll watch in the coming days. Medical examiner updates, shifting cases from pending to confirmed causes. Clear statements from HPD if any cases are ruled homicides, and whether they share characteristics. City infrastructure actions along specific bayou stretches. Verified identification updates, and how the city communicates with families before the public. If new, credible information changes any part of this picture, I'll update with sources on screen and in the description. If you want rumor versus reality true crime with sources and respect, subscribe. Drop your thoughts below, but keep them grounded in what we actually know. If you have real information, use official tip lines, not my comments. And if you're in Houston, take care near the water tonight. 6 bodies in 2 weeks is frightening. Facts are slower than fear, but they're stronger. Let's wait for them, together.